Hello friends, TECHMANPAT here. Today we're going to do a test, a robot versus robot. I went on Amazon, put a filter under 300 Australian dollars, and I picked two robots right here. The Dreame and the Eufy, the S11, and this one's the Move M1. Not related to the Apple M1 chip. That's a fantastic chip. So today we're going to test these two robots right here in this very, very clean floor, because it's gonna get really dirty. This is the kids' playroom. There is a nice carpet, very fluffy, very deep, and it's gonna get sand, it's gonna get dirt, it's gonna get coffee grounds, and popcorn in it. It's gonna be pretty fun. So I'm gonna let one robot loose on the ground, then the next, and obviously in between we're gonna do a full clean to make this as fair as possible. This is gonna be an interesting fight. Priced exactly the same at 250 Australian dollars right now on Amazon. One of them doesn't have an app, the other one does, as I found out on the box, and they both suggest they do really, really well. Well, the marketing does anyway. So what's the truth? Is the Eufy good? Is the Dreame better? Let's find out on this fight to the cleanest floor. I don't know, I was thinking like fight death robots or something, but I don't think that's going to work. In any case, make sure you like and subscribe. Let's get started by unboxing these and talking about the features and functionality. The Dreame Mova M1 robot vacuum and mop combo. What do you get in the box? Well, it's a 4,500 PA of suction. It's got a LiDAR laser navigation system, and apparently it's compact design, and yes, it can fit under my couch, so that makes sense. The mopping is not automated. It doesn't have a docking station that cleans it, so you have to refill the water yourself. The Dreame does have an app which gives it one big plus. In the app, you're able to attach no-go zones, you're able to tell the robot which rooms to go to clean, and you can also send it back home and adjust settings and add schedules. The robot also has multiple sensors with an edge sensor to protect and prevent accidental falls, and it also enables navigations in bathrooms and doorways with thresholds that have a maximum height of 2 centimeters. This is pretty good, and as you will see in the video, the robot can climb the carpet in my room. You'll also notice there is a section on the robot that has a plate where a brush would go. My assumption is that the Mova M1 is the lowest model with a few bits removed, but the chassis is the same across the lineup. So if you find a robot with an extra brush and a motor inside, that's where it would be placed. The Move has a 220 milliliter water tank and a 300 milliliter dust bin. This means that you can fit quite a lot, and as you will see, it did take in quite a lot of sand and debris. Battery life is pretty good with an hour and a bit, depending on what settings you choose. Lastly, there is no spare parts inside the box. You will need to buy that yourself as they wear out. For testing purposes, we have sweet popcorn measured out at the exact same amounts across two robots. We have white sand from the playground, again measured out, ground coffee, 1 scoop, and just some general dirt from the garden. And that will be spread across the mat and the hardwood floor and amongst some of the chairs and items like that, especially the sand. Alright, we're going to start off with the Dreame Mova M1. The app was set to standard, and before starting the actual vacuum process, we need to start a mapping process that was done off camera. It did not vacuum anything, so we're going into a fresh vacuuming mode after doing the mapping. The carpet height here is actually higher than 2 centimeters. However, it is very soft, so when the robots do go up to it, they should be able to climb it. All other robots I've ever tested in this area have been able to climb it. One thing to note, every single other robot that I've ever used cannot go underneath this couch. These two robots can. However, the Mova M1 did not, as I did set it as a no-go zone, and it worked really well. I just wanted to test the no-go zone. Unfortunately for the Eufy, there was no way to stop it from going in there, so it did get a bit more extra dirt from underneath the couches. As you'll see from the sped up motion, the robot first goes all the way around its area and does an edge clean. It then goes back and forth in a snake-like fashion through the actual carpet and hard floor. However, there is points in time where it does seem to notice a lot more dirt built up and doubles back and does it more clean. This seems to be some sort of smart feature where it thinks there is more dirt there and it goes for another quick vacuum. It also seems to avoid the big popcorn pieces thinking that they are obstacles, hence why it left quite a significant bit of popcorn. The Move M1 took around 31 minutes and 36 seconds. This is a fantastic time for a small area like this, and there's a lot of obstacles like chairs and things to navigate around. What I really liked about the Move M1 is when it went to a chair leg, it really went all the way around. The sensor obviously can tell that it's a single point object that it can identify as a leg of a table or a chair, and it goes around. The robot is designed to only go towards walls and chair legs and table legs with the side of the brush, because it's using that to brush all the dirt in front of the suction area. My main disappointment was with the popcorn parts. It seemed to avoid them, thinking they are obstacles, maybe too smart for its own good. Then the coffee grounds, that seemed to not pick up so well. They were a bit more dusty than sand, so the particles were much smaller. In regards to the sand, I was very impressed how much it picked up from the actual carpet. That was probably really good compared to the Eufy, which we'll look at in a moment, but it missed a huge chunk of it on the hardwood floor. But if you were to run this again, I think you'd get an even cleaner carpet. But remember, this is an extreme case where I've literally poured sand into the carpet and all the way around. The robot wouldn't have that much to pick up on a day-to-day basis. This is the worst case scenario. Now, it wouldn't be fair for me to run this test again and again until the floor is clean. This was a single pass, and I wanted to share with you how much actual dirt it picked up. So the 300 milliliters of storage inside was pretty much full of sand, popcorn, and dirt. It was really impressive, and obviously this is way more than a single broom should have. And overall, yes, there was sand on the carpet and there was a bit of dirt, but I was incredibly impressed by how much it picked up with a single pass. In the app, there are ways to do a double pass for scenarios when it's really, really dirty. Okay, the Dreame has just finished. I've cleaned the floor again, and we're gonna go again. I hate cleaning. Now, the Dreame has done pretty well. Can the less smart robot do better? Eufy, it's up to you now. Let's go. The $259 Eufy Boost IQ RoboVac 11S comes in at 1300 pascals of suction. It is quite quiet, it is self-recharging, but it is not smart. It has no app. It does come in with some spare parts, a few extra brushes and a filter, which is really nice to see. There is, at this price, no actual mopping functionality, which is okay. And the way you activate this robot is via a remote controller with two AAA batteries, which actually come included, which isn't too bad. Now, the control is very basic. It allows you to start and stop and set the strength of the suction and the pattern that it's going to go around in. Unfortunately, none of this really worked very well for me because the pattern just was random at the end of the day. It never really thought about it. It is a dumb robot cleaner with no actual smarts or navigation. It just keeps bouncing around until the battery runs out or it gets stuck on something. But it does have intelligent boost IQ technology, which translates to the ability to boost how much suction it is actually outputting at the time when it is on carpet, and that should help. However, the bottom of the Eufy suction area isn't mobile and does not stick close to the carpet. As I've noticed, when it was traveling around, it was still a fair distance away, meaning it left a lot of residual sand and dirt and muck. So from the get-go, the remote was a little bit confusing. I wasn't sure if I was pressing to start or pressing to set, then press start, but it seemed to just start away. So I pressed auto just like I did with the Dreame, and off we went. It launched out of the dock and straight across the actual mat and sort of started going around and bumping into things. And the way it seemed to vacuum is it would bump from each corner to each corner at a 90-degree angle, and then hopefully it would then go across the areas that have dirt on it. Now, one thing to add, when you have a lot of tables and you have a lot of chairs, the legs do confuse it, which means that there was a lot of stuff left around the tables because it just really wouldn't go around very well. Furthermore, it would end when the battery is empty. Yes, it says return to charge, but what I found weird, it never really did. Now, because this is a slim model and I wasn't able to put any blocks or where it's not allowed to go, it did go under the couch and get stuck multiple times. In fact, the final straw after 40 minutes was, well, it got stuck there and ran out of battery, so I picked it up. Admittedly, whenever it did cross an area, it did pick up quite a lot. Unfortunately, it was just that top initial layer and it left quite a lot of sand across the room. Because this robot spent a lot longer going around, it does look like it's picked up more, but what it's done is really just pushed it further into the mat. So comparing it to the Dreame, there is no way this robot can do your home because it will never reach every single area. It'll just keep bouncing around from room to room, even if it reaches it, and especially if you're a large home, it'll get stuck somewhere and then never really come back to the one place where you had potentially sand near the doorway or something like that. Now, if we look at the numbers, the 13 pascals of suction, these numbers don't really mean much because it is how far away the robot is actually from the floor. And this is the thing that makes this robot kind of bad. The suction area does not move. It does not squish into the carpet or the hardwood floor. Hence, whatever suction, it could be 5,000, 10,000, it will still not pick up as well of a robot that has potentially half that is touching the ground, because creating a suction lip and cup around the area that you're actually suctioning creates a much higher suction. So my recommendation when picking robots, don't necessarily just jump onto the highest number of Pascal units. Check if the robot's bottom suction area actually is movable and touches the ground. Some of them are automated, some of them are on a spring. At the end of the day, you want it to be as close to the ground as possible. One benefit that the Eufy has, which it doesn't make the most of due to that way the suction power works, is the dual brushes. Having dual brushes is a lot better. It'll pick up a lot more things because it's going to put it in the way of the actual suction area. Unfortunately, because this robot suction isn't as good and close to the ground, even if those brushes are putting things in front of it, it's just not going to pick up as much comparably to other robots. So here's how the Eufy did. Most of the hardwood floor did really well. I'm actually quite impressed. It did pick up lots of sand, but then it also went over the top of those areas multiple times because it was just doing it at random. Unfortunately, the mat and the carpeted area there was a bit of a disaster. There was sand still everywhere, completely visible. It wasn't even patchy that some areas were well done or not. It was completely still sandy, as if the robot hadn't even gone over the top of it. Compare that to the Dreame, which when it did go over, you could actually see the sand disappearing, and the sand left over was actually deeply embedded into the carpet. So to me, the Eufy is just not close enough to the carpet to really pick up well. And of course, the suction power is quite low, so bundle that together, you don't have a great cleaner. Now, looking at the bucket collection, it did pick up a lot, and it did really well with the popcorn, and that's thanks to the dual brushes. It was able to push both the popcorns into the center of the machine and then suck it all up. They were big enough and light enough to be suctioned in, which is great. It does have a pretty large storage, which enables it to store a lot. However, the battery running out isn't great. Also, you don't actually have a battery indicator on the remote, which makes it a little bit more difficult to figure out how much battery it's taken to do this area. The Dreame only used about 25% of their battery. The Eufy RoboVac 11S and the Dreame Mova M1. The clear winner only because of all the functionality, but also how quickly and easily the clean was actually done. Yes, there is no app with the Eufy and it still costs $250. There's no mopping, and the only upside that it has against the Dreame is an extra brush, which added no advantage to the Eufy robot. The pickup pattern over here barely touched the carpet and left a whole bunch of sand, no matter how many times the dumb robot crossed over. The Eufy will never be able to do your entire home, no matter how many times you send it out. The battery will just run out. The Dreame Mova M1 has obviously had a lot more money poured into it. Yes, it's missing one rotor, which you can see actually a plate is there to have a little brush here, but it does have mopping. However, this is the important part. The section that vacuums up carpets and floors is actually mobile, and sticks closer to the floor. Hence, it gets a much better suction. Ignoring the numbers, ignoring how much suction these machines actually have, the fact that this can touch the floor and is much closer than the other one, even though the wheels themselves move around, gives it a much better suction pattern. So while the Dreame Mova M1 picked up 90% of the sand and dirt and coffee grounds and other mess, it did a much better job than the Eufy at the same price. And obviously this has an app, which gives it an edge in performance, specifically around the room and avoiding objects. It has an IR sensor and it is much better at navigating. This robot here can effectively do the entire home. Not a big home, maybe a 2x1 like an apartment or studio, maybe a 3x1 house, but it can do it. And it'll go back, recharge, and continue off where it left. And it's priced the same as the Eufy and just comes out on top. So friends, thank you very much for watching. I hope this has helped you decide if the Dreame Mova M1 or the Eufy is right for you. Obviously, in this case, I am recommending the Dreame. So check my Amazon links below and I'll catch you all in another video. Thanks for watching and bye.